Welcome Kevin Hayes and Aaron Parks to Halle 424, 424 in Hamburg, Germany. I'm glad to see you here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very happy to be here.
You're both here to perform a duo concert, and the extraordinary thing about it is that we have two pianists here with two grand pianos. So now, is that something just usual for you, or is it something special here?
Well, it's always something special to be able to play with someone like Aaron, and we've only really played once or twice together ever, so it's a real still kind of a new thing, and just really excited, and so yeah, I was very happy.
It's playing duo piano certainly is not something that happens just every day in general, just because there aren't that many places that have two pianos, and I've done a little bit of it, and rarely does it feel just as easeful and as natural and just like, oh, well, that's very nice, as it does with Kevin. It's very easy for this type of situation to sort of just feel like you've just got a whole bunch of notes running around with no particular reason. You know, with two pianos can feel like people playing at each other at times, and I don't get that feeling at all. Yeah.
So now it seems to be a premiere here at Halle 424. It's the first time two pianists together. So really a premiere here. But you have two completely different biographies, and you, Aaron, are from the northwest of the US.
Yeah, I'm from the northwest of the U.S., but actually now living in Europe as well. I live in Lisbon, Portugal, for about a year now.
Okay, so an origin from Seattle.
That's right.
And Kevin, you are from?
I was born in New York City and grew up in Connecticut, just about an hour away from New York, so in the East Coast.
Right, and you're not the same age, quite the same age, but you seem to have some kind of common heroes in your playing, in your inspiration. Maybe you can tell me about it.
Well, I can't speak for Aaron in terms of our common, but I would assume many of the same. We've talked about some of them. You know, being a jazz musician and jazz pianist, particularly, you have obviously a rich tradition, and you know, as we call them, ancestors of just, you know, our sort of our jazz parents, you know, that we are the children of, and just such a rich tradition. And yeah, I mean, I could name many names, of course, for myself in terms of inspiration. From Bud Powell to Sonny Clark to Wynton Kelly to Herbie Hancock and on, you know. So,
what about you, Aaron?
You said it all very eloquently, and I think that we definitely have a lot of common heroes. We also have I think we have to some degree some similarities in terms of priorities. And I think there's a type of singing lyricism that we're both searching for, and in our own, you know, particular ways, and a fearlessness, I would say, with regard to making music that is emotionally compelling, not only intellectual. And there is, at times, that doesn't feel like the most in vogue thing, because it can be easily, it's a fine line. It's a fine line, isn't it? To find the place that's emotionally resonant and not cross over into sentimentality. But when you hit that sweet spot, it's really something beautiful, and that's one of the things that I really appreciate in your playing. And I think that to some degree, I think we're both inquiring into some of that space.
When I entered the building, I heard you just rehearse a little bit, and I got reminded of some mood that Duke Ellington may have created also. Am I completely wrong? Or?
I mean, Duke, I'm a huge fan of Duke Ellington. The spirit, the lyricism, the rhythm. I mean, Duke's music is through all of us. I would have to say, I would a bargain to say. Yeah. I mean, what Aaron said is very much my ethos as well. And, I mean, I can't speak to not having any fear, but I try to, putting oneself on the line is very important, for me, right. Musically, to trust the process, and there's a kind of vulnerability. And when you get into that space, it's kind of like getting into the stream of things, and really going and trusting where the music wants to take us, rather than me imposing, okay, this is where it needs to go because last night it went this way, or I practiced this and this went well at home, or something like that. It's a completely different thing, it's a relationship where it's a with music for me, so I have to show up for that.
If you think of two pianists together, it might be all so too much sometimes, or you have to kind of find a way around too much. So now, in terms of style or repertoire, what did you bring to perform tonight?
Well, let's see. We, in terms of repertoire, we brought songs of each of our own. I think all of it that felt like it had enough room for us both to inhabit it and not feel completely bound. And that also felt like there was the potential for us to sort of playfully inhabit different roles. I think, it's hard to know exactly how any of it's gonna go, because as you say, showing up with too much of a prepared idea of how it's supposed to be is like showing up to a date with pickup lines. And you to some degree, that's just, with music, we having a shared space, sort of some songs, some standards that are like shared language, songs that we love from the American songbook, but we also, for this one, we ended up drawing upon a lot of Brazilian repertoire. We have songs by Toninho Horta, by Hermeto Pascoal, and by Toninho. What was the other one? I said Toninho and Milton Nascimento. So yeah, we have 3 Brazilian composers that we have songs that we sort of, wasn't really an intention. It was just sort of as we were, throwing things back and forth, like, hey, is this something? Those ones seemed to stick.
Yeah, the Brazilian music and the composer is just such a beautiful, obviously overlap with, what we call jazz, American jazz. Obviously there was all kinds of cross-pollination going on, or has been over the years, and I mean, it's become almost like world standards or something, rather than just the standards that we think, standards must come from the US or something like that. I mean, these are songs that are deeply affecting and beautiful, and so for me it doesn't matter the source so much, as long as it's meeting certain criteria like beauty and expression,
You seem to have played with some of the jazz greats, the saxophone players like Benny Golson and Sonny Rollins, for instance, people who know to play a melody, and you seem to have a favor for songs. and you're a singer and songwriter too. So can we expect some singing tonight?
You know, there's a microphone there. I'm going to see where it goes, how far it's in front of my face. But yeah, I do love singing. It's just a way. I mean, Aaron's also, I mean, obviously, you know, you sing along with your playing, and it's so integrated to me and beautiful. And I just, you know, I think you could put a microphone in front of yourself too. But yeah, it's just something for me. I speak of it in some ways as like, I mean, I've talked to maybe students or when people ask me about composition or whatever, improvising, it's kind of like quality control, you know, because if it feels like it can come out of here, like a singer can't really, you take a note, you leave a note, they have to commit, you know. So I think the singing has helped me to become a better musician generally, you know, to have it be, to tell a story, you know, and leave out the extraneous material to really be clear about the thread, you know. So that's why I enjoy it. And I also find that using my voice is kind of medicine for me, you know. It's like a feeling vibration in my torso, in my chest, you know, and I do sometimes kind of very high falsetto things, and I don't know, it does something to some whatever chakras or something's going on, you know, there. But it's really kind of almost, yeah, medicine for me as well. And I hope that some of that is resonating with the audience and whoever's hearing it, you know.
When I said you've been playing with the jazz greats, I mean you, of course, too, because I think your first teacher or one of the first teachers was Kenny Barron, the pianist.
That was one of my first teachers, yeah, for sure.
And you have had some history yourself, and both of you have played with saxophonist Joshua Redman too. And you were the pianist in James Farm, the popular band with Joshua. But each of you has, of course, their own things going. I mean, you have your own groups and your band leaders. What is there, what you do today, and what is like your thing today?
Well, yeah, that's what is my thing. That's one of those confusing things because my career, whatever you want to call it, has always been sort of me moving in kind of many directions at once, which is sometimes very confusing to make a clear sense of what that actually is. I have my most recent album is with my band Little Big, so I'm that's more of an, I don't know what to call it. We have electric bass, guitar, piano and keyboards and drums. It brings a bunch of different elements from different so-called genres into relation with one another, and song focused. But I also have an acoustic quartet with actually, incidentally, we share a rhythm section that we work with a lot right now still. Both of us do a lot of playing with Ben Street and Billy Hart. So Kevin has a trio. I had a trio that I expanded to a quartet, and so the quartet album will come out later this year with that band plus the saxophonist Ben Solomon. So, yeah.
So, and you have your own trio going?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple different sort of trios that have been rotating, but as Aaron mentioned, it's very kind of unusual. I mean, they're sort of like the Paul Chambers, Jimmy Cobb of the, you know. But just we all both have these relationships with Ben Street and Billy. I mean, I met Billy when I was 18 years old, you know, back in the late 80s, and he was on some of my early records, and so we have all these common, you know, colleagues, you know, that we love to play with, and it's just so interesting. But anyway, yeah. So, but I'm doing some work with in some duo context. I have a new record out with Jorge Rossi, who's a wonderful drummer, of course, and also vibraphonist. So we have a new album that just came out and just finished a tour a new record there, and just different projects over the years. I love the duo format, actually. So I did an album with Lionel Lueke a few years back, and as you said, doing some singing, and I'm working on a new project where I'm actually setting a bunch of poems by Rainer Maria Rilke, and that I'm working on finishing that project, singing and setting his poems, and kind of almost like, I don't know, more like almost like a folk setting. I don't even know what you call it. Again, the influence isn't just the mashups. I mean, I do some work with James Taylor, the great American singer, songwriter, and just, I feel like that's gotten in my brain, and the guitar. It's like, I don't play guitar, but I'm hearing all this music that's kind of like that, so it's a real gift to be able to traverse these different areas of music and to learn so much from these masters, and to work on our own stuff,
So beautiful artists here tonight. I'm really happy to have you here to talk to you, and I thank you a lot, and I'm looking forward to the performance tonight, and I'm really believing that I'm gonna have fun with the Brazilian stuff too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.